I think everybody's muted. All right. So, for those of you that don't know me, I am Brenda Marquez. My husband Caesar, he's here. He's going to jump on in a minute, but I wanted to kind of share our story of how we got started, how I got started, how he got on board. If you see us now, you probably would never know that he didn't want anything to do with this business at the beginning, because he's all involved in it now, but it wasn't like that the first year that I started. So I wanted to give you guys kind of an insight on how he got on board and how we kind of work together now that we're both doing it. And it works for us. But you can kind of apply some of the stuff that we do together if, maybe it's, a family member that you want to get involved, or a best friend or something like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be your significant other. If you have, mom or dad or sister, brothers, whatever. So I have been a coach for 3 years now. I signed up in August of 2012. I watched a webinar that my coach Erica had sent me. I had already been doing Insanity. I got a burnt copy, but I had it. So I figured I was going to finish it because I had started and I didn't. And so we were out at dinner one time with a couple girlfriends, and she heard me mention Insanity. A couple days later, she sent me an invite, and I was like, sure, whatever. I watched the webinar one time, and that was enough for me to be like, I want to do this. Like, I have no clue what this meant, but everything that Christina was saying, I was like, yes, like, that's what I need. So, Erica messaged me after the webinar, like, what do you think? And I was like, I want to do it. So Caesar came home, like, I think it was the next day that he came home from work, and I was like, so I think you want to be a Beachbody coach? And he's like, okay, whatever. Like, he had no clue what that meant either. He knew what Beachbody was because of the Insanity DVDs that we were doing to have the little, infomercial afterwards, but neither him or I knew what exactly coaching was. So I think I waited maybe 2 weeks, and I signed up. At this point, we were engaged. So we had been engaged for a year, and we were saving money. So the money thing I used as an excuse, because we were trying to save as much as we could to pay for our wedding. We didn't want debt from it. And we also wanted to go to Greece for our honeymoon. And at that time, it didn't seem like it was going to happen just because it was pretty expensive. So I signed up as a coach. I got the Asylum Challenge Pack, and I figured, I might as well, if I'm going to go do it, I'm going to do something. I had just finished Insanity, so I was going to commit to Asylum. It was 30 days. And right after I signed up, we had an event here. It was local. Craig Holliday came to speak. He used to kind of speak for Beachbody. He was kind of like a motivational trainer. So Erica invited me, and that's where I actually met Allison. And everything that Craig Holliday, like, that was my first time that I went to any event like that. It was my first motivational thing, if you can call it that. And I really liked it, and I invited Caesar to go with me. And he agreed. I don't know if he just probably was like, I don't know where this girl is going, so I might as well go with her. So he went with me, and he said, and he heard what they had to say. And afterwards we sat down, and I met with my coach Erica and Allison, kind of to do like what they do now, like a getting started right call, just to see what my goals were, what my plan was. And I really didn't have goals. I had just been a coach for like a week and a half or so. And Allison, I think, was still kind of a fairly new coach, but we left there, and Caesar's like, I don't know about this. I don't know if this is a scam or not. And I was like, well, they seem like nice people. And that was kind of that. Like, I went in, I started doing the workout, and I was drinking Shakeology, and Caesar was still going to the gym at the time. And he, saw what I was doing. He was never negative about anything. He never said, oh, that's stupid or blah, blah, blah. He did Insanity with me at home at times. But he kind of always just stood back and never really, like, asked about the business. Like, he never, like, asked, like, oh, I would tell him, like, oh, Success Club, or I sold a challenge pack, but he was just like, oh, cool, but he didn't really know what that meant. So in January 2013, I went to I think it was my second Super Saturday, and they announced the Success Club trip for 2014, which was going to be a cruise. And at that moment, I was like, this would be something really cool for me to work towards, so I could bring them with me. And I'm not going to tell them. I'm just going to sign up for it. And that was kind of my goal for the whole year. So my whole year I was like, okay, I gotta hit this goal because I want, him, I want to bring him and I want him to know that I earned this. And he really didn't have to pay a dime from it. Well, we had to pay airfare, but that was, nothing compared to like a whole cruise. So that was my goal in 2013, and I hit it. And when I told him, it was kind of his Christmas present that year at the end of the year. So you waited for a while to find out what I was up to, but I during that year, he saw me changing a little bit more, and he started asking more questions, and I'll kind of throw it over to him so he can kind of tell you his side from that time on.
I know you're out here, Allison. Don't be offended. I'm just gonna keep it real. All right. So as she mentioned, she was doing Insanity. I was doing it as well. I believe I was going to the gym. So I was doing, the man thing, like, oh, I gotta stay in the gym. I'm not gonna do, these home workouts, but I was doing it, so I was on and off. She told me about it. I was like, okay, whatever. It's probably another thing that Brenda wants to do. And to fast forward, I started seeing her, using Shakeology. I was like, well, what's that? And like she mentioned, we were trying to save money for our wedding. And I was like, well, how much does that cost? And at first she didn't want to tell me. And then she didn't tell me. I was like, what? I'm like, are you serious? And when you break it down, it's not a lot. It's just that number that seems like a lot. You're like $100. I could do something much better with the $100. But you can blow $100 in one night. Going out with a family or friends or whatever. So at that time I didn't understand the benefit, like she was spending $100. Then we went to that event that she told me, because she asked me, she told me, she's like, I'm going to this event, do you want to come? And I was like, well, yeah, I want to see what where all this money is going. If we're supposed to be saving for our wedding. I went, and I guess I came in with a negative mentality, and I know Brenda says I never really told her, like, no, you shouldn't be doing this, because I knew we were gonna get married. I wanted to be supportive in any way I could, but wasn't sold, I guess. And it's really hard, if you are trying to get your husband involved, or your other spouse or significant other, you can't make them do it, just for the fact that no one likes to be really told what to do unless I guess you're getting paid for it. Even then, sometimes you don't even like to be told what to do. So I went, and the negative, like, I was like, okay, this is bullshit, garbage. I don't believe it, whatever. It's probably just another scam. And it's funny because we talk about this pyramid scheme, and in reality, I didn't even know what a pyramid scheme was. But everybody says that, like, oh, is this a pyramid scheme? Pyramid scheme because of like past experience. Like, I know I went through something that they were telling me, like, oh, if you sell this, you can get people under you, and then you can make money off of them. Well, Beachbody is nothing like that. I found out that later. So when we left that event that Brenda was talking about earlier, we sat down at a table. It was me, Erica, Allison, and I can't remember the other girl. Susan. Oh, Susan, yeah. So we're sitting there, and I'm just looking at Allison. And honestly, like I said, I'm going to be blunt. I wasn't even listening to Allison. I was like, this girl's just full of garbage, whatever. I'm like, I didn't want to hear her, and I was just wanting to leave. And then, like, seeing Brenda's face when we left, like, I'm like, oh my God, Brenda really wants to do this. So time flew by, and like she said, she got this successful trip. We went on a cruise, right? So, yeah, we went on a cruise, and by this time she had already lost a lot of weight. I remember her commute to work was like probably like an hour. So she would come home frustrated prior to her doing Shakeology. But once she started doing Shakeology and working out, like, she would come home like, oh, I need to work out, or sometimes she'll work out in the morning. But either way, she's such a more positive person. So that was telling me, like, she wasn't telling me, like, become a coach. I just started seeing the difference that she was losing weight, that she was being committed, the people that she was talking to on Facebook. Like, she would tell me stories like, oh, this person is going through this, but, she did that, and that's why her life has changed. So she was just sharing, and I think as coaches, that's what we do. We should share. So she wasn't trying to sell me to become a Beachbody coach. She was just telling me what she was going through, and then, like, I was seeing emotionally what she was, her changes physically, and, like, slowly, but and then the cruise just blew me away. I mean, to meet Sean T, Tony Horton, and then all these positive people that were there, I'm like, everybody's there was just like, you know, wanting to, like, people, like, I thought, like, oh, Beachbody, everybody's gonna be in shape, you know, six-pack and this and that. And, like, everybody's different shape, form, but, like, they're all positive. You know, no one was, like, saying, like we do in the gym. You know, maybe some of you could have seen this or could relate to this. Like, those guys are like, oh, look at my bicep, I'm bigger than you, and this and that. And that's not what this was all about. This was more like, oh, you know, what have you done? Or, you know, what program are you doing, you know? And, you know, just like, and it's not just about fitness either. It was just like financially we had conversations. And I'm like, I was blown away, you know, from, you know, and then the celebrities, like, to me, Sean T, like, that guy, like, almost all the celebrities, they're down to earth. They're, you know, like, you know, I met, I don't know if you ever met any celebrities, but sometimes they're like very, like, you know, short talk, like, hi, this and that, and then walk away, whatever. So that sold me. So I guess one of my advices to you guys is, if you are trying to get somebody to join you, just share. Don't be like, oh, you need to do this because, you know, it's done this for me. Well, okay, that's cool. It's done it for you, but what makes you think that that's going to happen to me? And so just look at it as like just sharing, like, you know, and that's the beauty about, you know, we try to be positive, as much positive. And I know in our groups that I've learned, like Brenda told me, like, and Allison's talked about this before, like, if you have negativity in the group, get rid of it. Because, you know, one bad apple can ruin everything. So I'm going to let Brenda continue. Or do you want to say anything?
So basically, I guess, like, some of the tips is don't force your significant other to go to events with you, or don't force them to drink Shakeology or do the workouts. If you commit to what you're doing 100%, they're gonna, like he said, they're gonna notice the change. But I know I don't like being told what to do. When he tries to tell, I always tell him, don't tell me what to do. And it's pretty, but I don't like it. So, you know, why would I do that to him if I don't like him to do that to me? I always invited him to stuff, and if he didn't want to come, I never took it personal. I didn't, you know, as a couple, it's hard, you know, like, you want to do stuff together, and it's like, oh, I'm excited to go to Super Saturday, but he doesn't want to come with me. So now you're going to turn around and be, you know, in a bad mood, or, you know, give him an attitude because they didn't want to come. Like, that's not going to take you very far. So try, you know, do the inviting. If they don't want to come, that's fine. You know, keep trying, because I invited him, I invited him probably to all the events, and he didn't always come. And sometimes when he did come, he was like not all there, like he would pay attention or he would walk out. So it's like, you know, little by little, he kind of like started to listen more and stuff. I never pushed him to read a book. You know, he started seeing me reading books.
I hated reading books.
I never told him, hey, you should read this. You know, I made a suggestion. I was like, oh, you know, I read this in the book. It sounded kind of cool. Like, what do you think? But I never told him you should read that after I'm done or stuff like that. So I know, you know, it can be hard for us to like want to like, you should do this because it's working for you. But sometimes it can push him away even further. Well, that's one of the big things. And after we started working together, so he started drinking Shakeology after honeymoon when we came back. He got full on board. And it wasn't easy. We fought a lot at the beginning because he was kind of doing what I was doing when we started. Like, he was always like on his phone trying to talk to people, and that, you know, annoyed me because I was like, really? Like, you're always on your phone? And then what else did we talk about? He would always have like questions. Like, he's like, well, how do I do this and how do I do that? And obviously, you know, I'd already been in the business for 2 years. So yeah, but I was like, really? Like, can't you like Google it? So
Shalene Johnson.
Yeah. So we had to work out those kinks, you know, and he knew like I had to, like, communication is key too, like they say in a relationship, for everything. But even when you're gonna work something like this together, because even though, you know, we both have full-time jobs, we both have full schedules that we're doing other stuff, and then the time that we are home, you want to spend it together. But, you know, if I want to work the business and he doesn't, or vice versa, if we don't communicate that, we're going to end up mad at each other and we're not going to get anywhere. So, you know, write out a schedule that you both, you know, can kind of agree to, especially if you have, you know, kids involved. I know it's a little bit harder. So maybe you're not working the business every night. Maybe it's a couple times a week, you know, and do stuff for each other that it'll make things a little bit easier for you. or if your spouse is not involved, you can tell them, it would really mean a lot to me if you can, watch the kids for 30 minutes while I do this, and then you do something for them that they would appreciate. So it's always like finding something that they're sometimes, what's the book that is? We do recommend reading the 5 love languages. That kind of opened up our eyes to a lot of things, because we don't, not that we don't appreciate, but like, for example, I may like when he gives me gifts, but he may not like when I give him gifts. So it's like, we have to appeal to what the other person likes. So maybe his is like words of affirmation. Like he likes when I tell him like that he's doing like, oh, you talked to that person on the phone. That was really cool. It's something that they like. So you can have different love languages, and that's something important too. And the personality of your spouse is also probably different than yours. If you've been around us, you're going to notice that we're totally different. He's a total extrovert and I'm the introvert. So we kind of also had to learn that. And we stopped using it against us and started learning how that could work for us.
I was gonna add, so as she's talked about, reading the book. So I never really like reading books, and now like I try to read a book at least 1 or 2 or more a month. So there's a book I'm reading right now. It's called Start. That really doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about. It has more to do like what you are passionate about. So one of the things it says in it, which is awesome, and I never thought about it this, like, I guess into detail, into, the way the book said it. And Brenda kind of touched on this. Like sometimes you got, if you have a dream and you want someone to help you, like you got to ask them what they're passionate about too. Like the greatest thing of, that you can do to somebody else is ask them what their passion is and help them out. And if you help them out, usually the other person will help you out. But if you always say like, well, this is my dream, or, I want to be an emerald, or I'm a coach, or I want you to be a coach. It's like, it's all about you then. But why not like, okay, well, what would you like to do? So like Brendan was saying about can you take care of the kids for 30 minutes while I work on my business? And then, later on, what would you like to work on? And I'll take care of the kids. Or, or how can I help you to do whatever, because you can't do everything by yourself, and I think it's a lot of us, or some of us maybe, we want to take this on and you want to do it by yourself. And I'm telling you right now, if you're going to try to do it by yourself, you're not going to be successful. And that's, if you can get your spouse on board, awesome. If you can't, we're here for you. You can find accountability partners. I mean, there's so many ways that just, don't feel like, if your spouse is not on board right now, that he or she will destroy you. It's like you got to take care of yourself. That's like one thing I also learned is like, you got to take care of yourself before you can try to help anybody else. I don't know if that sounds selfish to you guys, but I've learned that like you got to take care of yourself. If that makes sense. And I know so my brother talked about the 5 love languages. I don't know if you guys want to write this down. Another book is called Personality Plus. So it looks like this. It's by Florence. I don't even know how to say the last name, but it's Litt. Alison, you know how to say that? Florence.
I think it's French.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah.
This is a great book. You get to learn about other people's personalities. So I like reading that book because I get to learn more about got to know more about Brenda's personality. Like, oh, well, this makes sense. That's why this and that. And also, like as a coach, you want to know who you're gonna be working with. Like the people that you want to help. You want to know how their personalities are. You want to know also if you're gonna have coaches with you. You want to know how to work with them because, like she said, some people like rewards as presents. Some people just like to be acknowledged. Like, oh, doing a great job. Some people just like to spend time with you. Everybody has like different personalities and ways to feel appreciated. And then the third one was a gem test. So this is one thing that always makes me fun, makes me laugh because what Brenda said, she's like, hey, look at this test. You should take it. And I was like, what is it, like a test to see how smart I am? She's like, no, just do it. And then, she's like, I think her gem was like a diamond.
Oh no, I'm an emerald.
Emerald Pro. And she told me, she's like, take it. And then, so I took it And then she's like all excited, like, what are you? What are you? I'm like, well, what are you? She said, no, you tell me first. So like, I just find like, if you can find it, it's by Danny Johnson. That's Dany, I think, Danny Johnson. It's called The Gem Test. I think it's not a book, though, right? It's a
Well, there's a
It's a file.
yeah,
I can share it.
file in Ignite Nation where you can just print it out and it's like 15, maybe it's more than 15 questions, a couple of questions, but then you add up the answers and it kind of tells you. And when you read the descriptions, you're like, oh, okay, now I understand.
yeah.
But once you study them, you'll be able to notice like different characteristics and people that you talk to and meet, even if it's like at your normal job. Like once you know how somebody kind of ticks, then you can kind of figure out how you can talk to them. Just like Caesar said, you know, me as an introvert, if an extrovert came to me and like told me about the business and they were so excited and they threw all these things at me, I probably would have backed off because that's not my personality. I don't like that. So that's, you know, sometimes when you get to know, maybe it's because your personalities are just different. So they can, you know, you may be coming off the wrong way to somebody, and it's not necessarily that you're a bad person. It's just that their personality is different, and that's not how you're going to attract them.
That. So yeah, so reading, like, I mean, not just like learn, like it's in the books. Like it's so crazy. Like I know, like we live in a life of the internet, you know, Google. Like, but sometimes when you Google stuff, you don't know the sources. Well, I like going into books. Like I like hardcore, like the actual book. And I know you can download stuff a little bit cheaper, but I would recommend you definitely do the professional developments. It's one of the 3 vital behaviors that we do. And if it's not reading, if reading is not your thing, you can always listen to podcasts. There's tons of podcasts that like I started listening to Chalene Johnson, Lewis House. I mean, there's like so many out there that you can listen to. Sean T has his own. I know Allison talked about it. Never mind, it's a field fire. Sorry. But anyways, there's a lot of people that you can listen to for free. And if you have, especially if you have like a long commute, like for work, instead of like, that's another thing. Like I don't listen to the radio anymore. Like once in a while I'll listen to it because it's a repeat of the same songs over and over. And especially in the morning, it's like that gossip. Like I don't know if you guys listen to B96 where they have like cheater, you're a cheater, whatever. I don't know. They have all these different stupid things. It's like really, like I'm really listening to this. Like it's funny because before I thought it was like, oh, this is cool. It was like my entertainment. If you're gonna be in a car for 30 minutes or whatever time, like my drive is short, but I know Brenda's is like 45 minutes, and she'll tell me like, oh yeah, I was able to listen to 3 podcasts on the way to work and back. I'm like, oh my god, you're so ahead of me. But I guess what I'm trying to get at is like find your way to get your professional development, either through your books or through podcasts. And I know like for me and Brenda, like when like she'll ask me like, oh, did you listen to Sean T's podcast today? And then like if I did, then we'll discuss it, like what we got out of it. So that's another way you can connect with your spouse, regardless if they're a coach or not. And some of the conversations have to do with financially and so on, but marriage. But that's another thing that it has helped us a lot too, I guess, because we listen to the same stuff, and then we discuss what we get out of it, and then I feel like we can communicate and help each other. Did you want to say that?
It is to close. So now that we're both on board, what we've kind of tried to focus on is what we're both strong in. So Caesar, he's a talker, so he doesn't mind getting on the phone, talking to people. He goes to his school and does little Shakeology tastings for the teachers. He doesn't mind that. He's all about that. Me, not so much. I stick to my computer. I stick to what I'm comfortable with. So if he has somebody, that maybe is not as extroverted or stuff like that, he'll kind of, maybe you can talk to my wife, or if it's vice versa, maybe you can talk to my husband and stuff like that. But, we have to work off of each other's strengths, and whatever. Like he doesn't like numbers, he doesn't like spreadsheets, he doesn't like any of that. So, and I don't mind that. So we have to do what we enjoy. And right now we're kind of working together to build my business up to Diamond. And once I get there, we're going to work on his. So that's kind of what we've decided to do with ours. Obviously, if you have your spouse, you can do what, works best for you guys. But that's kind of the plan that we, agreed on when he decided to go all in for it. So working off of your strengths and in the sense that you're, both, because obviously we're both not good at everything. So like you said, personal development has helped us so much, not only like first, with ourselves, like working on ourselves. And then I don't know, like our marriage is completely different since we started. I mean, when we started, we weren't married yet, but I feel like if it wasn't for this business, that our marriage, our relationship would be totally different right now. So, when people say, oh, this business changes you, it really does. And it sounds a little like, what could really this business do for you? But it's a lot of internal work. Even if there was no coaching opportunity, I would still, use the products and do the workouts because I love them and they work. So you have to be that, committed to your business that it doesn't matter if the Beachbody opportunity would go away, you would still want to be involved because that's what your spouse wants to see, that you're, all in. If you're kind of, half-assing it, that's what they're going to see. And they're going to be like, oh, he or she's not serious. So why should I, jump on or whatever.
All right, so we have 10 minutes. I'm going to kind of close up with a couple examples I wanted to share with you guys about, working together as a spouse or with a friend or whoever you decide to get with. And then I'm going to open up for anybody if you have questions. So if you have questions lined up, be ready. Hopefully you all don't jump in at once. But so a couple of examples that I saw, throughout Beachbody, throughout the years that I've been a coach was one, and I'm not going to say the coach's name, but they are part of our team. So I've noticed that the specific coach, she's very successful in this business, and her husband when I talked to her husband, he really didn't want to be part of the business, but he knows a lot about supplements. So like them working together, like, him knowing about the supplements and then telling her about it because she's not really, she didn't know too much about it. Like that's a way, like, that he feels like, oh, she needs me. Like, oh, I know about that creatine, or I know about that protein. Like, if you can find what your husband likes, like that, or, wife, vice versa, you can, that's the one way to, get that person on board. Another example is one of the husbands is one of the coaches that we have. Her husband is very good at making videos. And he helps her with making videos, and like, he doesn't mind it because like I talked to him like, you make some awesome videos. He's like, yeah. He's like, anytime she asks me, I'll make them for her. So it's like he's like not on Facebook and not really running the business, but he's helping her. So he's part of the business, because he is doing something he likes to do, and she's obviously benefiting as well because she's coming out with great videos. And then the last one, Christine Dwyer, I'm not sure if you guys know her, but she's pretty, up there. Her husband, he's like an IT guy, right? Is that an IT guy? And it's funny because like they have a Platinum Edge. We go to Texas usually in November. So he's like always usually like he comes out, but he's like on the back, and he's an introvert. He's an introvert, yeah. So he loves the numbers and spreadsheets, and Christine Dyer doesn't. So like they remind me of me and Brenda, but like opposite. And I love the fact like he'll say like, oh, I don't mind working the numbers. Like he does the budgets and accounting and everything. And she's the one that likes to be out and like making videos. So that's like another way they work together. So just gotta find your niche with your husband or your wife and see how you guys can help each other. Maybe that your spouse doesn't want to be on the spotlight, but if you find something that they like to do, then you guys can be so successful in your business. I mean, it's your business. If you're together, it's kind of like I said, you don't force them, but if you can kind of like find what they like to do, and if that somehow can help you with your business, that's my suggestion. And then before we open the questions, did you have anything to say?
No, but I think we kind of touched on everything. And then also remember, if you're going to work together, it's our business, not mine or his or hers. You always want to reference to it being yours, because if you're going to build it, you're both going to benefit from it. You're both going to be able to do pretty awesome stuff, by yourselves and together. So it's always yours.
Any questions? Please give me some complicated questions or easy. Because, I mean, you got a guy here, Might as well ask away. Norma, Priscilla, come on.
Well, if you guys think of anything, you can post it in the group and we'll try to answer for you. And I'll post the recording. So if you ever want to go back or if you want to show, If you want to go back and show maybe your spouse later on, we'll have the link. So, and I know there's other recordings out there. Janelle Summers has a really good one with different husbands. She kind of does an interview with them, but there's a lot of stuff out there. If it's, you know, something that you want the other person to watch, maybe they don't want to listen to you, but maybe if they hear somebody else talk about it, or maybe if it's coming from a spouse, they'll be able to relate more.
And sometimes your spouse can just be your cheerleader or the person that helps you stay grounded. Because that's what AJ does for me. He's kind of the behind the scenes, like make sure everything's okay. So he doesn't really do a lot with the business, but he's always there for me to bounce ideas off of and just for support. Because this business is a roller coaster because we deal with people. And so there's a lot of ups, but there's also some downs too. So he's good at being like, oh, just, you know, brush it off. And, you know, so that's okay too if you have someone that's not in the business, but as long as they're still supportive, you know, it happens.
I guess that's a wrap if nobody has questions.